Today I'm gonna be trying something a little different than my other videos. In the last video, I had just finished gluing up the pieces of the bat wing legs and prepared the walnut pieces for making bullnoses. The next step now is to actually begin making the bullnose pieces. To do that, I've got this 3/4 inch router bit from Rockler and these Jessim's roller stock guides. The roller stock guides will basically push the board against the fence and down towards the table. And since I need to make a minimum of 210 pieces, I wanted this process to be as smooth as possible. Installing the roller guide was really simple, but I did have to spend some time on setting up the router bit to the perfect height, as well as adjusting the fence to get the router bit exposed to just the right amount. And just to be sure, I decided that I should do a test cut first. For the first test, I chamfered 2 of the corners because I felt there was a chance that the router bit might have a hard time making these cuts. Since it turned out really well, I did a second test without the chamfering to see how it would hold up. And what I learned was that I did not need to baby this thing at all. The router bit could cut through the walnut like butter, and I could just feel that this was going to plow through everything. And with that, I began the process of making my bullnose pieces. Once I'd gone through my entire stock of walnut pieces, my next step was to cut the bullnose portion off and run them all through the router bit again. Now, the walnut pieces I have for this project are in groups of different sizes. What that means is that I won't be able to just set the fence once. I'll need to be adjusting it again and again and again. And yes, I know a lot of people were thinking that I should just cut the pieces and make them all the same. But what I also wanted to do is preserve as much wood as possible. To help me do this accurately, I created a little jig to help me determine where to set the fence. It isn't anything fancy, but it'll help me get the job done. And with that, the grind begins. When my client had first brought up the idea of this design, I looked around for some options where I wouldn't have had to make all of the pieces myself. There were a few companies out there that were able to make them, but getting these outsourced would have been outside of the client's budget. No matter which way I looked, it really looked like I would have had to do them myself to make sure that I got the kinds of pieces that I needed. In all honesty, I also tried my hand at suggesting other design ideas as well, but this client knows what they want, and that's a-okay with me. The bullnoses took me about 24 hours total, and these clips have actually been sped up about 10,000 times faster than normal. At the end, I had a total of roughly 250 pieces, which was way more than my minimum. But the way that I look at it, I will either have a lot of backup pieces in case a few of them fail, or I'll be able to make a fun project out of them later. Now, of course, the batwing legs are done, but we're gonna jump back a few days in order to tie everything that's about to happen together. About a month ago, I'd posted an Instagram story to see if anyone knew of a wide belt sander of at least 43 inches in the Houston area. Luckily, Cedar River LLC had reached out to tell me about Helmwood, a sawmill that was about an hour away from me. I immediately messaged them to learn about their services, but it was today that I was finally calling to make the reservation. After reserving a time and day at the sawmill and reserving a van from Home Depot, I turned my attention back towards the tabletop to prepare it for the big adventure. If you remember, when I filled in the holes here with resin, I'd created walls with a hot glue gun so that the resin wouldn't go beyond them. The resin has already cured, so to get it ready for the wide belt sander, I needed to get these glue walls off. The first thing I tried to do was heat them up. I figured that if they were heated, they'd get a little gooey and I'd be able to scrape them right off. That ended up in total failure. The glue just melted everywhere and got all over my spatula tool. I later learned that denatured alcohol would have been a great way to get the hot glue to pop right off. But because I didn't know that solution at that time, I decided to take the table outside to scrape it all off with my router. Getting all the glue off took me about an hour, and while working on it, I was constantly reminded of how big this tabletop was. To flip or move this thing, I always needed help. And because I'm so used to trying to do everything myself, this has really become one of those projects with a certain taste of reality. But with the tabletop cleaned up and ready to go, we are now going to fast forward to my journey to Helmwood. It starts off with a trip to Home Depot to pick up some pink foam and the rental van. You can see how nice and clean this van was. Even though its cleanliness bugged me, I kind of expected it from a rental van, so it was whatever. I brought the van back home to load it up and drove another hour to get to Helmwood.
Oh my god, I can't believe it.
When we got into the parking lot, I felt like the building and area were incredibly clean. I walked into a very open area where two gentlemen were working, and one of them introduced me to Chris, the one in charge of the production shop and who would be helping me for the day. Chris grabbed one of their handy-dandy Renegade height-adjustable carts and helped us unload everything from the van. When we got back in, we decided to process the tabletop first. This super cool wide bill sander is so big, it needed a couple minutes to fully power up. While it was warming up, Chris was kind enough to show me how the inside of the machine looked. It's got 3 heads loaded with 120, 150, and 220 grit sandpaper. And after the monster fully woke up, we took some measurements and began the sanding. We did 2 rounds on one side and 2 on the other, and just like that, the tabletop was flat. Since the cost of using machines here is by time, I went ahead and got both of the ends and one of the edges cut with their sliding table saw. Because this thing is so heavy, I saved the last edge so that I could have a little bit of forgiveness while moving it back into the house. Cutting one edge on my own wouldn't be a big deal at all. While getting this done, I was also able to meet Jason, the owner of Helmwood. Jason was super nice, super chill, and we talked a lot about the startup of the business and some of the hiccups they had along the way. He told me a lot of fun information about Helmwood, but in the future, I'll be heading back to do a full tour of the place, so stay tuned for that. After the tabletop was done, I also got the batwing legs sanded and only got one end cut for these. I think the total time here at Helmwood was maybe about an hour, but if I were to do this on my own, it probably would have taken about 3 to 4 days with the tools that I have. This would then take precious time away from the legs, which are what I will need to be spending the most time on. And after a successful and pleasant session here at Helmwood, I headed back home. Hello. As you can tell, this was a completely different style of video compared to the other ASMR type videos that I've been releasing recently on the channel. First and foremost, I want to know, what do you all think? I won't ask too many questions so that you can give me your honest thoughts about the video and its style compared to the other kinds. While the video in this particular series have been done in parts, I do plan on releasing a full build video in the future that will basically be all of these videos combined in one. I know that will be helpful, especially because there were a few in the series that I didn't do any commentary on. In between these video releases, I'm thinking to do more woodworker diary videos to kind of go into more details about some of the adventures that I go on, both woodworking related and not. But of course, what does it mean for the peaceful ASMR kind of videos? At this current moment, I have no idea. But what I'm thinking to do though, is to eventually move them all to a separate channel to have the peaceful videos in one and have this channel as the one where I'm talking away. Either way, everything has been experimental and it has been because of you and your feedback that has allowed us to grow and learn from each and every video we create. So, thank you all for all of your support and a super big shout out to my Patreon members who have really been a pillar for me as I navigate this woodworking and content creation journey. Thank you so much and see you in the next episode.